Welcome, everybody, to Resilience Unpacked. This is Linda.
What's good? It's TJ. How y'all doing? Boom. Let's get started. Hey Linda, what's your shirt today? What's
It's
out of your shirt?
Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. It's a shirt.
Yeah. You know what? I get confused between Daffy and Donald. I always mix them
Do
up.
you?
I always mix them up. Well, they're like similar characters though.
Yeah.
Like similar. They're like not the main character, but they get dogged on. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
always.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Daffy is no, Donald is a Mickey Mouse. That's
Disney.
Mickey Mouse, right? Disney, and then yeah. Okay, all right. Just checking. I got on the young anime. This one's super faded, bro. But it's faded because it's like my favorite
Oh, that's
shirt.
awesome.
It's it's this show called My Hero Academia, TBH, and don't cancel me, y'all. But the anime is kind of mid. Like it's not great, but I think if you're like a kid, like it's fine. But the shirt was cold though. Target be having them. Target and Walmart,
Yes. Their
which is crazy
t-shirts?
because
Yes.
back in the day, OG anime people, which is nuts to see how embraced anime is today.
Mhm.
Because back in the day, they used to get cooked. used to get cooked for watching anime, especially as a black dude. It's like, man, that's some white people shit. And it's like, I'm just trying to watch. I'm just enjoying. Back in the day, it was like Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop, early Naruto, early One Piece. At least when I was coming up. But yeah. Anyways, all right. I digress. But today we're talking about healthy and unhealthy habits. The theme for our programming this month for our groups, which is shout out to Mac, the Millennial Accountability Club. The theme for this month is building healthy habits. But when we were talking about this episode, we kind of did a warm up. We were like, it's not just the healthy habits; it's also the unhealthy habits that you really gotta hone in on. Because there's this concept like, do you remember those Charmin Ultra commercials back in the day?
Yes.
Those and it'd be like Charmin Ultra, less is more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it was trying to convince you to use less napkins because it could do like twice the
Yeah.
power. Well, I think about that all the time. I think about this concept of the less is more, or Nassim Taleb calls it like via negativa, which is like gaining more by doing less, addition by subtraction. So whenever we're working on our goals and working on habits, it may think, okay, if I do more, I'll be able to get there. But maybe if you do less, you'll be able to get there, right? So like if you're trying to reduce screen time, getting another phone probably isn't the way to go, right? But deleting apps, doing less to gain more is probably the way to go, right? Does that make sense? Or am I
No, no,
just
it does. It
yeah,
does.
I think it
But
makes
I
sense.
think when you said Charmin, sorry, I got stuck on the Charmin Ultra because I started thinking of wiping your ass.
Wait, I thought
Oh, it's
wait, no.
Bounty. It's Bounty. Bounty is the one. Charmin is what you use to wipe your butt. Those are the bears.
It was
Oh, it
Charmin. It
was?
was
Oh,
Charmin. So what? Oh, so they were using.
yes.
They were saying using less toilet paper. Using less toilet
I was
paper.
thinking of Bounty. Like,
Nah, I'm not even gonna lie, bro. I be rolling the mess out of the toilet paper. So I guess not less is more for the toilet paper. You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
that's so
I
funny.
don't know. Like, why are we talking about toilet paper right now?
But yes, I
Nah, that's
agree
real.
with everything.
Yeah, it's when we talk a lot about in our groups like the bite sizing the habits, right? So you take like a big goal, and if you think about it like a meal, if you just try to eat it all in one bite, you're gonna choke. But instead, if you're like, why don't I just cut this up into bite-sized chunks that I could accomplish sustainably, right? So people are usually tapped into like their health goals, their fitness goals. So instead of being like, all right, this month I'm gonna lose 100 pounds. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna lose 100 pounds. And it's like, okay. And maybe you do, maybe you are in a place where you need to lose 100 pounds, like for your health or something like that. One, maybe give yourself a longer time frame, right? And then two, the the habit isn't the goal. The habit isn't to lose 100 pounds. The habit is the thing to do the goal, to get the goal done, right? So whether it's cleaning up the diet, going to the gym, getting more steps in, drinking more water, choosing one of those to start improving versus choosing everything to start improving,
Yeah.
right? Because right now you're at zero. You're doing none of those
Yeah.
things. So why do you have to go to 100? Like, why do you have to go 100%? Why can't you go 10% and then maybe the next month or next week, 15, 20, incrementally get better?
I feel like a lot of times the reason why, like, when people start off with goals is because you take on way too much at one time and you get burnt out. Burning out is so easy to happen. Like, once you feel overwhelmed with something, automatically in what's happened to me is I'm like, I'm done. That's it. Moving on. That
That's
was
a
too
wrap.
much. Goodbye. But it,
No.
like, I feel like that's what happens with a lot of people, but in reality we need to break it down and be more like, okay, maybe just change one small thing at a time and eventually build on. But I feel like social media really affects how we see things, because in social media you see
Ooh.
people like go from this to this in seconds and you're like, I need that, I want that right now. But that's not real, that's not reality.
No, that's real as fuck. Well, what you said is real as fuck. Maybe not necessarily the results. Yeah, I see that all the time. Those transformation videos, which I love to see. Those are
Yes,
like
amazing.
super dope, motivational for me. But it's like we're seeing the end. We're seeing like if you read the caption, a lot of times these folks are like, "Hey, this took 2 years. This took a year," and it's like a great transformation. But we see it all in an instant.
Mhm.
We see it. Nah, it looks like you did this today, brother. Let me know how you did this today. Real talk. And so yeah, I think the burnout is huge. And typically when we think about burnout, we really only think about it at work. But really burnout shows up in so many areas of our life, and especially in building healthy habits and routines. Like you were saying, going all the way hard on and it's easy. The weight loss goals are easy to kind of talk about because not everybody has them, but a lot of people have them. It's like, okay, I'm only gonna eat grass and lettuce, and that's it, brother. I ain't gonna eat no. That's all I'm eating, and it's like, all right, maybe you could do it for a week, maybe you could do it for a month, maybe you could do it for a few months. But what you see a lot of times is that that recidivism. You see them like bounce back, and sometimes it's even harder, and that's so hard to see. And that's something I struggle with personally, the yo-yo dieting,
Mhm.
like the up and down, like where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go hard and I can do it. Sometimes I can do it for like a year or two. And then I look back and I'm like, damn, I was in really good shape like 3 years ago. Like what happened? And then I think through the timeline, I reflect, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I was doing to get that. Okay, well, then I got hurt and I wasn't able to do that anymore. And then, oh, shoot. So now working on more sustainable ways to do it, ways that allow for grace in my programming is super, super helpful for me.
Yeah. I think that a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough grace, like you said. We have to know that in our lives, we go through the seasons, right? So there might be points where we could have gone really, really hard and then things happen. But that doesn't mean that we fully have to come to a halt, a stop. We can still do simple little things to continue. And once we can go back to that, okay, I can continue going, then maybe you can go back to it. Like, and from what you said, I 100% like I totally relate to that because when I used to go to Rush, man, that was everything to me. But then my son started to become more aware of where I was at. So like I'm at a point in my life right now where I kind of had to stop for a little bit. I still go every once in a while, but it's not like I used to. And I'm trying to find other things, other places to go to. I don't look like I work out, but I try. Like I'm trying to
Y'all,
find
Linda looks
trying
great.
to find small like places because I know right in the moment in the season that I'm in with my children still being small, still being busy. I know that I can't go as hard, but I could work on maybe maybe I'll work on having a healthier lunch, making sure I drink my water. At least try to work out 2 to 3 times a week. Might not be a full workout, might be a walk in my neighborhood or something. So I feel like we forget that. We forget that we can do
Mm,
small little things. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, on Instagram, I see all these people always going so hard all the time. I want to do that. You can, but you kind of have to find the balance of when you can do that.
yeah, for sure. My mom, she always says meet people where they're
Yeah.
at, right? And in therapy, when I'm seeing clients, that's something I really try to keep in mind. You know what? And I've had a couple professors say that too. So I guess, mom, I'm sorry, you ain't make that up. But anyways, but you can also meet yourself where
Yes.
you're at, and that's the more important thing, right? Is meeting yourself where you're at, because the burnout, the all or nothing
Mm-hmm.
mentality that really comes from, and it's crazy you're talking about it because I feel the same way. Like when I got hurt or when I get hurt or have an energy injury that stops me from going as hard as I'd like to, really it's a full halt
Mm-hmm.
versus like instead of being like, okay, maybe you could go for walks. You hurt your shoulder, so you can't do jujitsu anymore for a little while. So just go for walks. It's like, nope, I ain't doing nothing. I wonder what that is, right? Like why not slow it down? Why why go to a complete stop? We gotta look into that, Linda.
We do. Yeah. Might you know what?
Yeah.
Might have to do something with our Western culture that we have.
Goddamn. All right, we're all moving. We're moving out east, y'all.
Well, because we're always
Yeah.
go, go, go. I think we were talking about this earlier how reading our textbooks, like our college textbooks that take like 3 hours to read per book, it really talks about Western culture and how we are always in a rush. We're always go, 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 go. But in other places of the world, they value the slow down, spend more time with family. Work doesn't come first in a lot of other places around the world compared to how it does to us. I don't know, I just thought about that.
No, that's real. That's real. And then there's a lot of like inconsistency with the messaging that we have here. And it's it's because we're at a crossroad, right? We're at a time where people are really starting to see like, hey man, putting in 80 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours in a week and not seeing my family, that's not really what I'm about. But then we also have a hustle culture that's like, oh, you got to put in the work. You got to put in, hey man, sleep is for the weak type shit. And so I think balancing that as we cross over into like a new age or newer age of how people think in our culture is really hard. And I see that a lot working with like leaders in business and hearing them talk
Hmm.
about how they got to where they are, how hard they had to work, how much time they had to put in. But then also hearing like, you know, I don't really know who my son is. I don't really know who my daughter is because I didn't spend a lot of time with them. And now at this age, I regret a lot of the work that I've had to put in or felt that I had to put in. And a lot of that comes down to could they have worked less and still been successful? And from what I've got, a lot of them say, yeah, they could have,
Yeah.
or at least the success looks different now. Success isn't necessarily the bank account, it's time with the children, time with the family, time with the wives. Oh man, the relationships, they suffer. right? When we go all out, when we go all out.
Yeah.
So building sustainable habits isn't just necessarily, I know we spend a lot of time talking about our fitness goals, but it's also our relationships, sustainable habits in our relationships.
Yeah. I think that sometimes we lose track of what really matters, and we put
Mm.
all either we put way too much emphasis on other things when in reality the things that matter are right in front of us. And sometimes we don't realize it and it's too late. It's too late. It's like, wow, the years have passed. The relationships are broken. It's like, what could I have done here, there, now to have fixed it? I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's real. And when, yeah, the too late, right? It's too late to go back to that stage where, for example, you take like a relationship like with your partner or with your kids. You can't go back and relive like the soccer practices or the field trips or field days that you miss. And what compounds is the fact that you miss, right? And maybe your kids are teenagers or they're going off to college. And well, that used to be your dog, right? That used to be the homie. The kid was always around. Now they're not really looking to you anymore because they learned that you couldn't be there for them. Even though a lot of the sacrifices you were making was quote unquote for them,
Yeah.
right? Like at least that's what you're thinking.
Yeah. Um, I actually have, so this is something really personal I'm going to share.
Uh,
Um,
I think we're sharing personal things on this podcast. What? We do
so
that?
I actually, when I talked to my therapist, I actually had, in a way, talked to motherhood trauma type stuff, but not really linked towards me, but towards my own mom. A lot of me felt anger towards my mom because my mom worked so much. And I know that if she wanted to, she could have worked in the daytime instead of like the evening shift, but she always chose the evening shift instead of the day shift. And I always, like as a kid, I never understood it. Now as an adult, I see it differently, but like through a lot of parts of my life, I grew up very angry towards my mom because I didn't understand why she would choose the evening shift versus the day shift and not spend time with me during my day shift during the night. Like why she wouldn't be home when we would get home. Like that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
really, really hard for me. And even as an adult, it still affects me now. So a lot of things, it takes me back to that childhood me. So like me now as an adult, as a parent, I really try to be home evenings. Like evenings are like huge. Although right now with school, it's different. But like that evening time is really important. Like every night we try and have dinner together as a family. We try and talk, we try to do homework, but by that time sometimes I'm like burnt out. So I'm like, let's do a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I sometimes we don't realize as adults the impact that we have on our children. It's like the little things to them are actually the big things that eventually build up. And when they become adults, that's what they carry with them.
For sure. So as a kiddo, you were able to realize that your mom could work a different
Yeah,
shift.
I'm like, I know she
Yeah.
could. I never questioned it. But I was like, I know
Yeah.
she could, but why? Like, and I always asked myself, I never asked her, but I remember crying and be like, stay home, don't leave. And she's like, I have to go to work. And yeah, and I feel bad. Like, I should have not said that, but I was a child. I didn't know any better. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No, that's very interesting because again, my mom, we have so much in common, right? My mom also worked nights, and the responsibility I had as like the older sibling in the house, the oldest sibling in the house, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, and it's helped. I want to word this. I want to phrase this carefully because I was gonna say it's helped me a lot as an adult, right? Like, I'm I'm fairly responsible, pretty level headed, like calm under pressure type
Mhm.
stuff. But then It did create fractures as when I got to college. That's when I became more aware. And maybe yours was earlier, women, y'all frontal lobe be developing faster. But when mine started to really start to develop, I started to like really think about how we were raised and the decisions that were made and really the habits, right? The things that were habitual in our relationship with our parents really started to come to the forefront. And so, yeah, like my mom working nights, she had told me why she chose to work nights. I just can't remember. Maybe the pay was better, right? Maybe they got paid more working nights or something like that. And it was just her, single mom, right? Like low income. So she did what she had to do. But that doesn't mean that it didn't affect us, right?
Yeah.
And then talking about our kids, right? So we think, and it's good that you talked about some of the habits that y'all have as a family to try to combat some of the time that we spend not with
Mhm.
them, right? So this is building healthy and then unpacking unhealthy
Yeah.
habits, right? So the healthy habits is like the dinners and just trying not to schedule things at nights when they're not at school. But, are they going to be as understanding that we're in school, that we're like, we're trying to build this business, that like things that take us away that we think are good reasons, right? We think they're good reasons, but for them, they're kids, and not only are they kids in terms of not to invalidate like their real feelings, they've also got some like justification to be like, yeah, but mom and dad already have a job. Why do they have to find another job?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I agree with that. And Cameron, the other day, was yesterday actually, I was picking him up from the YMCA. He plays at the YMCA with some of his friends, like just for fun. And he's like, Mom, you only brought lunch to me one time when I was in elementary. I was like, oh my God, what? He's like, yeah,
Uh,
I was in fifth grade and it was because it was my birthday. That's why you brought me lunch. And I was like, I got a whole ass career just so I could be on your same schedule. And this is what you throw at me? I was,
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
man.
that's some trauma. And I told him, you know what, Cameron, I'm gonna do better. Okay, I'm gonna try and bring you lunch. And then he's
Yeah.
like, Mom, you don't have to like be my slave, but it would be nice if you brought me lunch
Yeah.
once in a while. And I was like, wow, okay, this is like his whole childhood is based on me bringing lunch one time. But I'm like, okay, for him to feel that that's like the worst thing I could do, that's not that bad. But
What do they say? Does it say like the worst thing that's happened to you is the worst thing that's happened to you,
yeah,
right? So maybe for us growing up, it was just like our parents weren't
yeah,
home. I spent a lot of nights with you know, I would be like 9 or 10, and then I was with a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, my younger
yeah,
brother, and then my youngest brother was like 1 or 2, and I was changing diapers, like spending the night overnight, like that's just it was so normal to me, and it wasn't something I complained about as a kid. Complain, right, quote unquote. It wasn't something I brought up, like saw as like an issue as a kid, because it was just so normal. And then when we hear the stuff that our kids kind of suffer, like we laugh, and I'm gonna keep laughing at, like it's just
what?
like, but
Yeah,
then when we reflect and be mindful of, it's like, you know what, this is the shit
yeah,
they're going through, right? This is, and you know what, we did work hard so that they could have certain things, and our parents worked hard too, right? So that we could experience a healthier life in different ways than maybe they were able to. And we're doing that for our kids, and they will have issues that they have because of decisions like not bringing lunch on certain like but
yes,
that's
that's
his
his reality. That's and
yeah
you know what?
that's
And I validated. I'm like, yes, yes, you are so right. I am so sorry.
but it's easy to
It
dismiss that,
is,
right? Like
yeah,
it's easy to it's easy to be like, man, come on, bro, like cut it out, because and it's like that generational thing, like I think we talked about it on the other podcast. I had to walk to school in the winters and it was so cold, we had to walk miles. I don't want to hear you complain about nothing. It's like, nah, listen to your kids complain. Please listen to your kids complain. Like, make that a
Yeah,
habit. That's a good
that is.
relationship habit
Yeah,
to not get
yeah,
defensive about that
yeah,
stuff, because it feels like an attack. And I've been there where it feels like an attack on how you're parenting, or even you can have a friend try to come to you about something they hurt your that you hurt their feelings about, or a partner, and the initial thing is to be like deflect, because it does feel like an attack, and you do feel like you have to protect yourself. But sit with it and let people get their shit out, because it can be healing to your relationship. It can improve your relationship. It can show you a place where, if you really, really reflect, you were actually lacking, right? So for Cameron, all through pre-K, did you do pre-K
yeah. He went to
or
cricket.
pre-K through fifth grade? You lunch one time, and then it's like, but what you did was saying, you know what, I'm gonna start bringing you lunch now because this is something you find
Yeah, so I
important.
told him, you know what, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make it a point to, I'm gonna try to do it at least once a month till the end, and he's like, no, you gotta do it twice a month. I'm like, once a month, take it or leave it.
Deal. Shake hands.
So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah. And then, another thing too, it's like, it's good for us when we listen to our children, our partners, our friends, and maybe not say much, just allowing them to talk. That's something in class right now that we're learning, like to just not say anything. And it's so hard. It is so hard to like not say anything. And you basically just kind of let them talk, just letting them talk. And then eventually you can count to like five and then maybe say something, because you never know, they might actually have a lot to say. And I know that with males in general, they sometimes have a harder time really expressing themselves, so giving them that space to just talk can be really helpful in relationships, really, really helpful.
Yeah, for some of us, it takes longer to develop those ideas. That came out in one of our Macs,
Yeah.
Linda. Creed was expressing himself, and then it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? But just letting it sit, and like, you know what? We're thinking
And I
through it a
struggle
little
with
bit.
that. I struggle. I need it
Yeah,
now. Get to the point. And I'm like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I just gotta sit here. Don't say anything.
And sit there, not to
Yeah.
respond, but actually like
Yes.
truly listen. That's a hard one
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Because we could hear one thing, we could be talking, right? And you could be talking to me about like, hey TJ, how's it going with jujitsu? How often are you going? And I could feel offended, right? I could be like, why is she checking on me? Why is she, even though we talked about holding each other
Hmm.
accountable, why is she checking on me? But really, I'm feeling defensive because I haven't been on my shit. I haven't been doing what I said I was gonna do. So whether it be I had set the goal too hard. I said I was going to go every day instead of just a few times a week. Or, I just been sleeping in because I've been staying up at night. I'm feeling defensive about that. And so instead of just listening to you as a friend, keep it real with me about my goals, I'm waiting for you to take a breath so I can be like, well, Linda, what are you doing? What did you got going on? Like to
Yeah,
deflect the
yeah,
attention. And that shows up in so many spaces of our
it
lives.
does. And I don't think we realize it until we actually take that time to reflect and kind of think, you know? Sometimes we just gotta be quiet and just listen.
Yeah, we gotta shut the hell up. We really gotta shut up. So like, just shut up. Literally, just
And
shut
you
up.
know what? Sometimes in relationships, like with your partner, you might have to be open with it and be like, right now at this moment, I just want you to listen to me. I'm going to vent. And I don't really want any feedback. I just want to vent. Actually, Shakreed and I had to talk about that
Yeah,
because I was trying to give him solutions and he just wanted to vent. And my response was, what's the solution to the problem? And his was like, no, I just want you to listen to me. And I was like, okay, I apologize. And then it literally, simple words could fix an argument. Simple
yeah,
words. But we have to be mindful of how our friends, children, partners, relatives, of what they're going through at that moment and what exactly it is that they need. Do they need us to listen? What do they need?
No, I love that. I love the. Do you want to listen? Do you need someone? Do you know? Do you need an ear or do you need a
Mm-hmm.
hand? Right? Do you need someone here to listen, or are you looking for
Yeah,
solutions? And I love that, but it's hard to even become
it
aware of that.
is.
Right? That sometimes you're just rolling and you think you want to problem solve right now, but you really just want to be heard. And then you start to hear like your partner or your friend be like, "Oh, well, you should try this. Well, you should try this." And it's like, "Oh, okay. You know what? Actually, I just want to be heard
Mm-hmm.
right now. I promise you we'll get there. I promise you we'll get there. But right now, I just need you to shut the fuck up because I need to, I need to talk right
Yeah,
now." And so, no, I love that. I love that advice. And it's a good
it
habit,
is.
right?
It
It's
is
a
a
good
good
habit of
habit.
even counting to 3 before you
Yeah,
respond.
I try and do it kind of to five
Take,
because my threes are really fast.
yeah, you're over here like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi,
Yeah.
4 Mississippi, 5.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
1, 2. I'm like, really try. I try to.
Nah, you must have been hell in hide and seek. You must have
I was
been
like, two.
hell. All right, Linda. All right, Linda, you go count. We're gonna go hide. Like, damn, Linda, we said count to 20, and you over here like, what is it? Two is it? Three is it? Four is it? You supposed to be 1
Yes.
Mississippi, two. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I hope we got to I think we got to some some healthy habits and unhealthy habits. Really, just bite sizing your goals, right? Figuring out a way to get there without having to eat the whole goal and focusing on the habits that we have to do to get
And
there.
then reflecting, making sure you take some time to reflect.
Reflecting, reflect, and this can show up both in your personal, but also like this is very useful in all relationships. Habits don't just apply to whether you're trying to lose weight or get a new job or this and that. They apply to also how you communicate with the people you care about.
Agree. Agree. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you guys for listening to us today.
Episode 14, goddamn.
Hope you guys have a great week. And we're in springtime, so the weather's starting to get better. That seasonal depression is starting to go away. That, I got that. So,
Nah, that's real. It's real. We could, that's a whole
yeah.
episode right there too. Talking about how the seasons and the time that trauma occurs could actually play a role
I
in
agree.
and how.
All right,
Yeah.
guys.
Let's talk about it right now. We're gonna talk about it right now.
No!
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I
I'm
have too
kidding.
much. Too much.
Yeah. And guys, if y'all go to resilienceunpacked.com/groups, GROUPS, if you're in the Houston area, particularly in like the Galveston County, so like South Houston, or wherever you are in Houston, we have an event coming up Saturday, March 9th. Volleyball and building healthy habits, kid friendly. We'll have a section for kids. We'll have hydration stations. We'll have food. It'll be a good time playing volleyball with the homies and really talking about habits and holding each other accountable.
Yep.
All
All
right, I'm
right.
done for
Bye,
real.
y'all.
Peace.